Alan Kyerematen appears to have insulated himself from any kind of political or social scandal because for his long life of being in politics, nothing, absolutely nothing has been written, published or said about him, either by his opponent or by his own party people. In such circumstances, whilst the negativity of Akufo-Addo's government does not seem to attach to Alan, it would appear that he takes advantage of the positives of the Akufo-Addo government. So that's one of the positive observations of the Alan Kyerematen package. Next is the battle for the soul of Ashanti. Alan Cash, as they will be calling him during this campaign, will be making a case for uniting Ashanti votes to ensure total victory for what will be the MPP's asking for a third term. The last time the MPP needed a third term, they lost the election by 25,000 votes with about 10 million votes cast. So now, with another third term bid now designed as break the eights, so Alan people will argue, with another third term bid now upon the MPP, they must surely completely secure all the votes that they can muster in Ashanti. The data shows that for the MPP to win the election, they must secure at least 75% of votes in Ashanti. The MPP secured 76% of the votes in Ashanti in 2000 and 74% of the votes in Ashanti in 2004 presidential ballots respectively. In 2008 and in 2012, when the MPP lost, they secured 72% in 2008 and 70% in 2000. Those two percentages occasioned defeat for the MPP in the national election. And then in 2016, the MPP secured as much as 76% to win a resounding victory. 2021 remains the only outlier where the MPP secured 71% of Ashanti votes and yet won the election comprehensively. Victory in Central Region and a very strong showing in Ashanti ensured that Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo comfortably won a second term. So the supporters of Alan Kyerematen believe that if he becomes the candidate of the MPP, given his relations with the Ashanti region, he, Alan, would be able to secure many more votes from the Ashanti stronghold to guarantee that all-important victory that the MPP need to break the eight. The other argument that the Alan team must surmount is this, that the MPP has the best opportunity to rebrand the party forever by choosing for the first time a non-Akan as the leader. And those people say that Dr. Bawumia is resourced intellectually and by apprenticeship to be the one to give the MPP this most relished and cherished golden image. The third leg of the argument for the Alan supporters to deal with is about Islam. How will the Alan people convince Muslim delegates to vote for Alan Kyerematen instead of Dr. Bawumia? Well, Alan Kyerematen supporters like Jojo Fosu will tell you that Alan is actually very, very popular among northern Muslims. But yes, we wait to see if that is true. On this matter too, the jury is out. Now let's look at the opinion and sentiments of the most important man in the whole equation. Nana Akufo-Addo has come from 2008 and 2007 campaigns with many bruises. He saw his boss, President Kufuor, seemingly supporting Alan Kyerematen, his competitor. He felt that if the party had been united after the 2007 context, he would have by now finished his 2 terms. President Kufuor confirmed the sentiments that the divisions in the party after 2007 actually hurt Akufo-Addo's chances of becoming president in 2009.
Unfortunately for us, we went into the 2008 election with some splits within our ranks. For instance, 18 of our members stood independent in parliamentary elections. Didn't help us. That didn't help us. If they hadn't done it, Nana Addo would have won one touch. Because even with all the splits on the count after the first round, he led by 49-point-something%. Needed only 23,000 votes to have won outrightly.
So Nana Akufo-Addo now stands in a unique position to make a decision about his regent. People who are close to the president say that he might be more tickled by the opportunity to secure a new image for the party. If that is true, then President Akufo-Addo will back Dr. Bawumia. If, however, he thinks conservatively, then he will back Alan Kyerematen on the basis that Alan has come second to him in all of the 3 primaries prior to his elevation to the throne. So, let's keep an eye on that space as well. Finally, election 2024 is the first election in which every Ghanaian would like to know the parliamentary outcomes first, even before they ask for the presidential outcomes, for it seems likely that the context will be determined that way. So does Alan Kyerematen have what it takes to carry NPP parliamentary candidates along and use his charm, if any, to secure them victories in their constituencies, which will then mean victory for the NPP presidential candidates? Finally, everyone is waiting for Alan Kyerematen's first announcement. That's expected sometimes next week. He will be naming some persons or some people who are coordinating his campaign. The names that he presents will clearly define his campaign and lead people to decide one way or the other. He must name one who lives the slogan Alan for all. Good luck to him, but sure that his supporters are hoping that instead of concessions like these,
I wish to use this opportunity to congratulate my elder brother and friend Nana Akufo-Addo for the overwhelming endorsement by the party. I wish to use this opportunity to concede victory to my brother. As I said earlier,
Alan Kyerematen will now have a victory speech and a victory dance. Whatever happens, President Akufo-Addo and the NPP must be proud to have such an array of formidable regents: Alan Kyerematen, Dr. Bawumia, Boakye Ejiakon, Owusu Efiri Akoto, Joe Gate, Kwabena Agyapong, just to name a few. That surely means something for the NPP, but will it also mean something for the delegates? Will it mean something for the Ghanaian voter in 2024? I don't know. Good luck to all candidates.
I will begin by the popular term fear delegates by the late Sir John, Mr. Owusu Efiri, lawyer Owusu Efiri, Sir John, formerly of Forestry Commission. This is going to be a very tough contest. BMW, AFA, ALA, and all of the things that are coming up. Doc, you've seen the video. And you've monitored the space. Yeah. Let me ask you one question, and then I'll go and get some text messages and come back to you. How is it going for you? You are a researcher. You have studied the space. People are calling for early Congress and so on and so forth. I'll come back to ask you on all of those issues, whether the NPP should go for early Congress and all that. But for you, as we sit in the studio, how is it going? Alan, Bawumia, Kennedy Japan, Kwabena Japan, who is winning?
I think this question is rather supposed to be the last question.
Right.
You're asking it as the first question. But, well, let me say a very good evening to our cherished viewers back home. It's been an insightful documentary and all the stuff put together by your team, yourself, your boss, and the team. I want to start by wishing all of them well. It's not going to be an easy contest. Yeah, it appears the leading contenders are all ready for the battle. They've started very well. So far, the issues are what we hear playing out. No need for any offshots and insults and all those things. So it appears they are all in for the battle. I'm not sure it's going to be an easy one for especially the two leading contenders, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and Chief Alan Kyerematen. But I mean, they should also not be too much carried away by the popularity the two of them seems to have. They should watch out for the likes of Kennedy Japan, Akoto Friye, the former General Secretary, and other guys who are lacing their boots to step into the race. It's going to be an interesting time, really. And all we can do at this stage is to wish them well. We will get into the details and we'll see how they will fare.
I will come back to you again, and my beginning question will be, with all that you have seen, whether the NPP can break the 8. That's how I'm going to start. But for now, let me go to the very beautiful girls that we have, or ladies, forgive me, that we have in the studio. And let me begin with Annette. Do we have anything here?
Yes, we have a few text messages. Firstly, coming from Daniel Akan, he says, clearly the 2024 election can only be a strategic win for the NPP, as the data shows in 2020. It is clear something strategic happened, and that is obviously the Northern votes, which were pulled because of Dr. Bawumia's strategic continuous visit and project to the northern part of Ghana. The biggest mistake the NPP will do is to put aside Dr. Bawumia, mark this comment on this day, 12 January 2023, and reference it after election 2024. Thank you. Bennett Danso says, good evening to you and your Good Evening Ghana crew. I dare say that the 2023 NPP presidential primaries will be the most toughest and most interesting primaries ever in the Fourth Republic dispensation. Best of luck to Alan Cash, but I think Honorable Kennedy Japan is the best man that Ghana needs now. Citizen Bauer article thinks that Alan Kyerematen fears campaigns, and because he's an elite politician, we will need a real grassroots person like DMB 2024. Pak Anoche thinks Alan Kyerematen must take the vice president position and let Dr. Bawumia be the president. Stephen Etohening, Bawumia nie break the 8 knee, no BMW, forget the power. Stephen Kweku Abuach says, from Amwaman, he says, the NPP must be structured in such a way that party faithfuls, especially delegates, must be catered for in terms of job. Hungry man is always an angry man. Lastly, from Techi Ebenezer, Alan is the best man among them. He's been there since day one and has served us so well. Therefore, Alan must come. Over to you, Karen.
Okay, this is from Rudiger. He says, I really enjoyed this documentary. Keep up the good work, Mr. Paul Adam Ochre. Amadou Abdul Halik says, Paul, well done. You are educating us to the bone, and that is good journalism. From Idris Mohammed, he says, this is very enlightening, Mr. Paul. My advice to the NPP would be to everything possible to pair Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia and Alan. But looking at the interesting Lockhorns I'm seeing, that would be a really tough consensus to arrive at. I, however, pray that Allah choose the best leaders for us, regardless of the party they belong to. A leader that will unite us and have our best interest as a nation at heart. Nana Bredu says, wow, good evening, Ghana is the journalism we are all looking for. Lastly, from Yao Tego, he says, God bless our homeland Ghana and make her great and strong.
Coming from Wada Adams, he says, the best person to win the hearts of both the Ashantis and the Northerners is DMB. Also from Joe Boyer, the actor, he says, Ghana, if he wins and becomes the president, we should bear in mind that he will surely repay himself from our money. This is the time we must not listen to anyone who says, I'm coming to help anymore. Politicians will always have something to tell us youth in Ghana. Stephen also says, even though I give all my support to DMB, whoever their delegate chooses, I will support the candidate 100% because the Great Elephant Party is bigger than any individual. Coming from Yusuf Abdurrahman, he says, I'm bringing you greetings all the way from Wale Wale, Baumia Youth Center. Keep up the good work. All ranks and files of NPP have seen the hard work and contribution of Dr. Baumia from the time he was appointed as a running mate in 2008, ran from the left and breadth of the country just to make sure NPP comes into power. So there is no better candidate to lead NPP than DMB. Fred Champon is enjoying the show. Thank you, Fred. For Sukusi Ivan says, if NPP wants to break the 8, they should combine Baumia and Alan. Felix Zapia also says, and Nanado didn't let him down when he got power. He kept him with him as the trade minister and defended his work. Why do such a person throw his whole party under the bars? Political Odinoso says, Dr. Baumia is a great asset to the NPP. He has served well, and because of this great service, we, the delegates of the NPP, will reward him. Special greetings to Dr. Baumia, Lawyer Yao Baumia of Efia constituency, and Honorable Charles Bisiu of Esikadu Ketsan. And lastly, from Maludu Ima, let us talk about the flag bearership debate between Dr. Baumia and Alan, because everything shows clearly that Dr. Digital Baumia has the flag bearership position already. Inshallah, Alidu from the University of Education, Winneba, over to you, sir.
And let me read this one from Sir Obama in Pukwase. Says, good piece of documentary. You guys bring back fond memories. Dr. Baumia will win this year's primaries by a landslide. That's non-negotiable. BMW. Baumia must win. Sir Obama in Pukwase sent in that one. Well, getting a number of text messages, but you keep sending them in along the line. When they are done with this, I'll try as much as possible to read mine for you. And so, let me now officially introduce my guest in the studio to you. The one we have in the studio here is a mathematician. He's the director, Institute of Research, Innovation and Development, KSTU. And all of you may have known him for the number of predictions that he's made towards elections here in the country, at least in the last two major elections that we've had in the last 2 years. I mean that of the New Patriotic Party's primaries that elected the General Secretary, Mr. or Lawyer Justin Kodua Frimpong, Chairman Stephen Intim, and so on and so forth. And that's of the NDC. Chairman General Mosquito and Sami Jemfi, of course, unopposed, Pablo as a youth organizer, and their General Secretary and the organizer, and so on and so forth. He's predicted all of them. And that's how come I started by asking him how he thinks this election is going. Dr. Smasapon is my guest in the studio tonight. Doc, good evening to you.
Yes.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Sure, thank you too.
And before I begin my questions with you, let me also introduce Mr. Jonathan Asante Ochi. Dr. Jonathan Asante Ochi is also a lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, and he's been magnanimous enough to join us on Zoom, and we'll be speaking to him as well on all of the things that we are talking about tonight, the flag bearership race of the New Patriotic Party. Doc, if you can hear me, good evening to you. Well, so our technicians will... Right, Doc, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Right, good evening to you. Thank you very much for joining us.
You're welcome.
I'll come back to you pretty shortly, but let me begin with Dr. Smart Sapon here in the studio. And Doc, I told you I was going to come back to ask you whether the NPP break the 8.
Yeah, everything is possible. Yeah, everything a man sets his heart on to do and do it diligently with all seriousness, it's possible. So as a straight answer to the question you asked, I'll say yes. First reason is that everything is possible. Second reason is that a win is only possible amongst the two major political parties, NDC and NPP. So if you ask me whether NPP can break the 8, it is yes. If you ask me whether NDC can win 2024 election, it's going to be yes, because, I mean, in our fourth Republican dispensation, we have seen those two political parties as the major ones that are interested in the sole aim of forming a political party to win political power. It's only these two political parties that are interested. And according to political history, we are told that it is the ruling government that gives away power. Yeah, the opposition don't win power, but it's the ruling government that gives away power. So if the ruling government, with all the benefits of the power in your hands, you want to give it away, yeah, then you do so. But we see with the NPP, and if they are going to put the talk into action, some eagerness to make history, some eagerness to break the 8, as they call it. If they put more actions to that zeal, that interest they have to make history, I'm sure they can do it. It is an open game, but yes, it is possible.
But do you see them doing it? I mean, let's begin with that of the economy. With the current state of the economy, what's happening in the economy now? Of course, they will quote exogenous factors. NDC would say that no, there are endogenous factors which you have entrenched. You haven't managed the economy well, you haven't done this well, and they would say, before 2019, late 2019, we had all the macroeconomic indicators showing positive, showing that we're heading towards a very positive economic progression. However, with the COVID coming on board, with Russia-Ukrainian war coming on board, we've been hit so hard that we now have to come out of the ravages of these problems gradually and be able to take hold of the economy. Even with the IMF coming on, they are claiming, NPP is claiming that gradually it's taking hold of the economy. And so, do you see them breaking the 8 with this on the economy?
Yeah. When you take the economy of Ghana, I dare say it has never been stable. With the exception of debt accumulation that will show you a graph that is rising. All the other indicators do rise and fall. They rise, they fall, they rise, all of them. Inflation, whatever, think about whatever, and they rise and fall. That tells you that we still haven't reached stability yet as a country. Several years down the line, if we take the Fourth Republic alone, we are in excess of 30 years. We still haven't been able. Inflation rises to some high numbers under President Rawlings. It falls under President Kufuor, rises again. It falls under President Mills, rises, and it falls and rises. So we have to think about the economy of Ghana as a whole, and not to think that in some person's era the economy became stable. It doesn't become stable ever. And so let the political discussions go on, but when it comes to the economy, I think it will interest all of us to go to the table, find means of making things work in a sustainable manner. Now we are making some gains economically. The fear of many is whether this is going to be sustained.
Exactly.
So, yeah, largely we are quick to do politics with things that we don't take politics in. That is what makes us suffer. If we are making gains, it may not be because someone has gone for juju from India, but it may be because something is being done right. Let's see those things that are being done right, and together seek to sustain that. I'm sure the heat that came in the last quarter of last year made people sit up well. I know of other countries where economic indicators are given, and it sets people up. If you are the Minister for Agric and it is recorded that your side recorded the list, it pulled all of us down, you sit up. You have a serious headache until you compete and gain a better score in the next, perhaps, announcement of inflation and all those things. So that is what we should imbibe into the system. All of us come together when it is about the economy. Because if the economy gets worse, it doesn't know anybody. Whether you are party A or party B, you get affected. So with the economy, I'm so sad sometimes when I see the way it's being used for politics. When inflation rises, some part of the country are happy because of politics.
Of course.
When it falls, instead of focusing on gaining sustainability for the general good, people go into town to do politics with it. As for economy, if we do that with it, Ghana will never.
So we shouldn't play politics with
it at all. There are a lot of things we can.
But the politicians do. I mean, for the reasons you're giving.
Yes.
When NDC is in a position, and like you're saying, inflation is 54% currently, they will jump at
and you see somebody
on all the social media platforms, jump at it, making noise, inflation is up. And so, I mean, they've used it to make a case to be able to change the current government. NPP the same.
Absolutely. And so long as economy becomes one of the things we want to do politics with, we will be going to IMF almost all the time because, we are not ready to solve our problems as a people without a big brother maybe supervising us or watching over us. That, for me, is what we have to look at. If not, I mean, why should the economy of Ghana continuously suffer, be described as an unstable economy for so many years, and I don't know when that is going to stop, to end. So yes, the advice is that we should minimize the way we do politics. If we would do with all other things, at least the economy that sustains all of us, we should minimize the way we do politics with it. Yeah, we seem to be happy when things are...
Let me come to the current executives that we have. I'll be coming to the flag bearer contestants themselves after this. But in recent past, we've had two major elections, that of the NPP and then that of the NDC, having national executives, all of them in the lead up to having the flag bearership congress and contest to elect their flag bearers. But starting from, for example, in the NPP, from the polling station elections to the constituency elections to the regional elections, and then the national elections to elect the national executives. And then if you come to the NDC, from the branch at the very low level to also the constituency, now to the regional, and now they have their national executives. We've gone through this before. NPP had wanted to break the 8 in 2008, which in the video put together by Paul Adumoche, His Excellency John Kufuor was speaking, that they had a split front and a number of issues that he cites as a reason for not being able to break the 8.
Yeah.
This time around, they have new crop of executives, young, energetic, vibrant, mixture of young and old, and so on and so forth. How is it looking if you want to pair the two together? We've seen that in the media quite recently.
Yeah, the two political parties, to be truthful and sincere, have elected the best they have, the best they can ever have. I mean, Chairman Ayesu Ntim, for me, has the demeanor of a chairman. I'm saying so because politically, the role of the chairman is like a goalkeeper in post. You are supposed to be there, supervise and check all that others are doing on the field, be able to issue commands so that your defenders are properly placed or your strikers or midfielders are working, and irrespective of the mistakes that they may commit, you should still be ready to secure the post, resolve conflicts, blah, 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 do everything you can. And in doing so, you need somebody that has this kind of demeanor, a little bit of diplomacy.
People think not in the time you want to break the 8. If it's in your first round, you're fine. If it's just at the beginning of your second round, you're fine. But when you want to break the 8, you need aggression.
You know, you don't always need aggression. I differ on that. In Akan, people say, so you know, never. Sometimes the cool guys, you don't take them for granted. I met him somewhere, and I was a bit surprised. I was on my research rounds to one cool area in the West, and there he was. I was thinking, what would this man be doing here? So, yes, as quiet as he may be, who knows? Maybe he spends time on the ground, very quiet. You wouldn't hear him speak louder and all those things. So, yes, if he was not ready for the job, I'm not sure he would have come for it. He knows what it means to break the eight or lead a political party like MPP. And I think the demeanor he has can help in conflict resolution, can help in the administrative bit of his role. And if he's so much to the ground, that will be, those two qualities will be enough for him as a chairman. Compare him to General. Yeah, General is extremely powerful in all spheres. He's also a very deep-rooted grassroots man. He knows almost every nook and cranny of this republic. And when he combines that to, I don't know much about him in terms of diplomacy, but of course, he knows what it means to be a chairman of a political party. So even if he doesn't have that immediately, he may have to add that to the attributes that he has so that he can keep the post for the NDC very well. As for the two general secretaries, I am sure the NDC took a cue from what the MPP did. They have placed somebody from the stronghold at that very strategic position so that you can consolidate the gains in your stronghold to pull everybody else along. So I said elsewhere that if I'm to assess my brother Kwete, Fifi Kwete, and lawyer Justin Kodua, I would assess them mainly on their impact on the votes of those two regions.
Not on their demeanor?
Their demeanor is fine, but in terms of, in politics, everything else will come down to the numbers. So, yeah, so I will go after them in respect of how they are able to use the strategic roles their political parties have given them to maximize the votes of these two regions. In Ashanti, for example, if MPP is able to do, and Paul rightly did the analysis.
75%.
Absolutely.
If you're able to do 75% in the Ashanti region, then you are winning the election, the general election. Can Kodua do that? Of course, this is not about them. We'll move on quickly. But.
You see, today I read in the news that Fifi Kwete is calling on all Voltarians in the Volta region. I don't know whether you cited that. To vote for NDC. Whether you are NDC or NPP, he doesn't really care. But if you are a Voltarian, he says if you vote against the NPP, you are a disappointment or something.
If you vote for the NPP, you are a disappointment?
Yes, and you are a Voltarian. No, he's not a pastor. No, let's not take him out of context. He has started his work. The reason why, and I said it, and when I saw that post, I told myself he knows what he is doing. Because here, as I said, I will assess the two of them.
Would that not be classified as playing the tribal card?
Somebody wrote under, it was a Facebook post or something, one of the comments went that direction. But if he is able to focus on his region and maximize the region by all means possible. I mean, people have problems, people had challenges with some of the ways by which General went about his campaign against the then chairman.
Yes.
Yeah, but this is not Catholic Bishops' Conference. It's not the General Assembly of the Presbyterian Church of Ghana. No, it is politics. And you do everything you can, of course, legally, I mean...
And ethically. I mean, for those of us who are monitoring from the media space and all of the other space, we're expecting ethics to be played or to come to the fore. And so if you indulge in some of these, we will mark it as a tribal kind of play.
Yes. But to the extent that, to him as a politician, it gets him the numbers he wants, I'm sure all means possible he would use. I'm not saying tribal politics should be encouraged, but what I'm saying is that he has accepted to use the strategic position he has to get about 90% of the votes in the Volta region. And I'm charged, and I've said it elsewhere, that me, if I'm assessing both of them, I would wait and see how much impact their strategic selection would have on the regions they come from, because these are very key regions for the two political parties. And the good news is that if the NPP is able to do above 70%, and let me revise that prediction. My prediction is that, and you know why, as you in prediction, if it is divergent, if as you go up, somebody is going down, it has a different tuning parameter. It has a different tuning parameter. But if as you come down, someone else is coming up, that one too has another different parameter you use to tune. If the trend of 2020 is to be anything to go by, the NPP should be looking at 80% in Ashanti region.
And not 75.
And not 75.
Why?
The dynamics are that if NDC was doing, and I don't have my regional maps here, in the prediction I made for 2020 elections, I had NPP projected to win by 51.4%.
Yes.
And NDC projected to play second with 47%. And yeah, they were very close, 53 point something. Very well. And the regional contributions to that prediction suggested that in the next election, we have not voted yet. In the next election, some winning margins are going to increase for the NDC, and some winning margins are also going to increase for the NPP. But it was such that if you look at somebody rising from 43 to 47, 4 percentage points, and you coming down from 53 to 51, what it means is that the rise is rather in favor of this end than your fall. Your fall was not too steep, 53 to 51, not too steep. But what it means is that a little fall, as compared to a little rise from that end, would perhaps send the entire 2024 election to a runoff or a win for the NDC. So I'm saying that these two people have been strategically elected by...
So I'm not cutting you, but I've received the news item on what you have quoted Honorable Fifi Kwete as saying, to be able to verify exactly what you've said.
Absolutely.
It says the General Secretary of the National Democratic Congress, Fifi Kwete, has admonished people from the Volta region to identify with the party as they do a religion. He said they must get accustomed to the opposition party, own and believe in it irrespective of its performance in government and contribution to the development of the region. Mr. Kwete narrated how the Volta region witnessed transformation during the late Jerry John Rawlings era under the NDC, which brought to an end the struggles of indigents having to travel to countries in the West African sub-region to seek greener pastures. Speaking at the opening ceremony of a retreat for the Volta Regional NDC executives in Juje, in the Ketu North constituency, he lamented how the love for the NDC in the region has been dwindling. And he goes on to explain, but I think he gives a reason for his statement, that the region has benefited immensely from the NDC, and so per that virtue they should vote for the NDC.
Yes, so this
like
is...
they do for a religion, but you can go on.
Yes, absolutely. So what I'm saying is that he has started his work. Yeah, however anybody wants to look at it, he has started his work. He knows that he needs to work extraordinary in that region. So what I'm saying is that the suggestions, as was rightly so showed by the documentary we watched, suggested that any time the NPP had 75 plus, they won an election. In fact, the odd is that they got 71 this time and they still won the election. What I'm saying is that because of that fall and the fall in 53 to 51, if the NPP wants to do any target in Ashanti region, the target should be 80. In fact, in the Ashanti region, out of the 47 constituencies, it was about 17 constituencies did not show up in the last election, 2020. Only 2 constituencies, 3 constituencies in Ashanti region had a positive, had a gain. Drobonso, such as from Plains, the overall best constituency, had +2 gain as compared to the previous election. Adanse Asokwa had Katie Hammond had a positive gain.
With all the challenges that we had in the constituency at the time.
Yeah. And the last one is Ofori Krom, who got some 0.1. It's still positive. The rest were all in the negatives. It means net losses were recorded in all of these constituencies. Absolutely. So it makes that is why we are talking about 71%, blah, blah. What it means is that they did first to bridge the gap and then start looking for some gains. If the gap takes you to 71% safe, but you need a gain to win the 2024 election. And I am personally going to assess the 2 general secretaries on their ability to actually let us see that they were strategically selected from amongst these strongholds. Fifi Fiavikwete go all out in the Volta region. Justin Kodua Frimpong, lawyer, you have to go all out because, I mean, if I'm the one doing the assessment, I will assess your performance based on the influences you have on. Let the other party structure deal with the other regions. And I'm not saying the general secretaries should also not work in the other regions. But if you come back every evening to sleep, ask yourself, what am I doing about these regions? You were strategically selected by these 2, and they are all smart. They know what they are doing. So any of the 2 that plays his cards very well would carry the day.
It is most probable that John Dramani Mahama, going against, obviously, Dr. Kwabena Duffuor, may emerge, and I want to use my words very carefully, and advisedly, yes, thank you very much, as a flag bearer of the National Democratic Congress.
Yeah.
They are seeking to prevent the NPP to be able to break the 8, and people would say that if you rely on the 8-year rule, then the tide will turn towards the NDC. Which of these candidates that we are talking about, and with the background that you have given, the statistics and all that has to happen, we have, I would say, the very strong candidates are maybe the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, and Alan Kojo Chematin. Others may want to add Kennedy Ohene Japan and the rest of them. Owusu Afriyie, who has just resigned as Minister of Agriculture, and all of them, with the backgrounds, with where they come from, with their political history. Let me allow you to analyze them. Which of them will be able to break the 8?
Good. You were advisedly suggesting that former President John Dramani Mahama was going to lead the NDC
as flag bearer
of the NDC, and I would also want to agree with you on that. If you remember the series speeches after speeches at the
Congress,
absolutely. So Congress, and it was the Congress. So the next time a Congress converges, it will be like just that, and they were already addressing him as their flag bearer. I mean, so unanimously it appears that the rest contesting would contest, but I mean the likelihood of winning. Anyway, you never say never, but it is not an event likely to occur that anybody amongst those contesting His Excellency John Dramani Mahama may overtake him. So it is very convenient for us to put him at one side and then look at who the NPP will be selecting amongst the many likely contenders. If the roadmap is given and we see truly those who have picked the forms, I am sure it's going to include Professor Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. I am sure it's going to include Chief Alan Chematin, who has, openly declared his intentions to contest if the opportunity comes. I am sure it's going to include Akoto Afriyie, who has also declared his intention. I am very sure it's going to include some other 2 or 3 people. What I'm foreseeing is that if the Council of Elders come in and backstage discussions go on well, they should try and avoid the special delegates election. The special, that one that must come if the people
it's
go
important
beyond.
That you raise that point, and that's why we began the whole discussion from 2007, when we had 17 candidates. We had cause for the opposition then, General Mosquito calling them 17 thieves, and all of the issues that have come up. Lots of reformations have come. Well, you now have an expanded electoral college, around 6,000 people voting to diffuse some of the, for want of better words, corruption or for money changing hands and so on and so forth. Now we have, I think, a regulation which says you can't have more than 5 candidates. And obviously, from where we are heading towards, and NPP has had the tradition of having more than 5 candidates, apart from when everybody accepted that His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo should be the flag bearer. How is it going to go? And that's where you were heading towards. Before you come back to who is the most potent candidate.
Yes. So I'm just hoping that leaders of the NPP will do something about it. But I mean, they have a provision in their constitution that allows them to organize a special purpose Congress to trim down the number if it goes beyond 5 to, I think, 5 or less. So, but what I'm wishing that because of time not being on their side, if they can do something backstage to prevent that, so that, I mean, the main guys who want to contest should come. After all, even if 17 people contest, one would eventually become the winner. It will be incumbent on all the rest to rally behind that person who the delegates will choose. If I rate the first 5, it perhaps will include Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, Alan Kyerematen, Akoto Afriyie, Kennedy, and then maybe any other one who may join.
There is coverage upon people are talking about Boache Jakun.
Yeah, they will be part of the any other.
The any other. All right.
Yeah. So if that happens, the point is that the point I want to make is that any of these key 4 can actually lead the MPP if the MPP is strong, structurally strong. In fact, President Mahama can lead the NDC to victory 2024 only on the condition that the NDC is strong. Yes, you remember the infamous lame horse narration?
I remember.
It is so much the case in modern politics such that it is the structure of the political party and the strength of the various ranks of the party.
From the grassroots.
From the grassroots up. In fact, over the last recent past, in the recent part of the Fourth Republic, 2000, in fact, in the first part of the Fourth Republic, the 1990s, it was just a fanfare. It was not a serious political whatever. Now, scientific politics actually started coming in somewhere in the middle of 2000. And then grassroots were brought in. But at this stage, what is happening is that it is strong usually up to the constituency level. And even that, parties usually, especially the 2 major political parties, still don't have hold of their constituencies. And the constituencies too still don't have hold on their polling stations. So it's like not until a constituency executive moves into a polling station, the polling station actually is not organized. If the 2 political parties want to actually be successful, they have to, apart from the person they will elect, in fact, whoever they will elect, they will need a very strong...
Who should they elect?
Of the 4?
Of the 4.
Under adult suffrage, under universal adult suffrage, there's likely to be a disparity between what one adult will want and what another adult will want. And so the law has required that then we give them all out to go and be decided upon by a larger number, and that whoever...
I'll come back to ask you whether we should have an early Congress, but let me quickly run to Dr. Jonathan Asante-Oche, who is with us on the phone. He's been monitoring, actually, and let me ask him 1 or 2 questions, and I'll come back to my text messages. We are having lots of text messages, but keep them coming. We'll make sure we read all of them for you. And before I do, Dr. Sebastian. Well, Sebastian, I have received your message, Sebastian Syme. Thank you very much for watching. You have made my night with regards to Honorable Nkrabea Ifadate's video. I can't stop laughing. JB sent in that one. And, well, okay, so let me just leave it for my ladies. And let me come now to Dr. Jonathan Asante Oche. Doc, good evening once again, and let me welcome you. Now, let me ask you a very straight question. There are a number of candidates that have come up for the elections as the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party. We've seen the Minister of Trade and Industry, Alan Kojo Chamatin, tender in his resignation letter to the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. We've seen Mr. Owusu Afriyie also tender in his resignation. And in fact, I have a response to his resignation where His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has accepted his resignation. I'm going to read that maybe after your submission. But the contest is going to be very hot. Which of them do you think will make the best candidate to lead the NPP?
Well, let me say good evening to our viewers. I'm aware you also have a radio station, so definitely to your listeners as well if they have joined. The point is that that decision will be taken by the delegates, and the only thing that we can do is to speculate and do some kind of scientific analysis. Well, if you asked me, the one that the MPP will have to decide on, and I think will give them more in terms of advantage as most likely Mr. Alan Chamatin. At the moment, you have the establishment, supporting Dr. Bawumia, as it were, and that Dr. Bawumia stands as one of the blocks of the NPP, and that of Alan, the other block. The Dr. Bawumia block, you can attribute that to the current leadership, as it were, and the Dankwa part, not the Dombo, the Dankwa part of the, Dankwa Buzia Dombo, triangle. And that is because the current leadership of the party, who are the Dankwa, who come from the Dankwa fraternity, are basically in support of Dr. Bawumia. And we will also have to expect that the Dombo fraternity will also support Dr. Bawumia. Now, if you bring in Alan, then Alan will be for the Buzia fraternity. And then the other fraternity who cannot be defined. And so you will see that the grassroots of the party are firmly in support of Alan because they want a change at the top level of the top echelon of the party. They want a change there. So some of us have argued that voting for JFK when John Bodu, who is more experienced and had delivered some kind of victory for the party, it's a protest vote. So John Bodu was just a victim of circumstance. And that wind that has been blowing is definitely or is likely to blow against Dr. Bawumia. And if you look at the whole political discourse as it stands now, you will have to consider the fact that Alan is just not going to contest against any other person, for example. But if you are voting for Alan, it's likely to contest against Mr. Mahama. And you need to gauge the environment and the temperament of Ghanaians. I think that if push comes to shove, most likely they may want to send Dr. Bawumia there. But that in itself comes with a huge disadvantage. The voice of Dr. Bawumia is literature, everything is on the internet, most often than not. And the opposition can play it up for everybody to listen, everybody to watch. And that is what has been happening on the social media. And if you look at the current state of the economy, and if you listen carefully to what Mr. Alan said, you will appreciate the fact that going on Dr. Bawumia at this point in time will be disadvantageous to the MPP. And if you also avert your mind to info analytics, a research that is done, you would then also agree to the fact that, look, Alan is likely to contest Mr. Mahama, but he's more likely also to lose the elections because the damage, the collateral damage, he's going to suffer from that collateral damage that will have been left by Mr. Akufo-Addo and that of Dr. Bawumia. So, if you ask me, my view is that Mr. Alan Kyerematen would do far better than Dr. Bawumia because Dr. Bawumia has a credibility crisis of which he is trying to reclaim. That's the more reason why you find an avowed Muslim, meddling in the affairs of Christians, going about in churches, donating this and donating that. That in itself comes as a huge disadvantage to him because he is, by this gesture, angering the Muslim fraternity. It is not as if in Ghana Christians are fighting Muslims or Muslims are fighting Christians. We have lived together. But that hypocritical gesture coming from Dr. Bawumia is something that will go against him. I don't really know who advised him to do that kind of thing. They could have done that on his behalf, more or less. But to make it so vividly open, I think something of that sort would not inure to his benefit because he knows very well that you have about 71% of Christian population in this country, 17% that of Islam or Muslim. And so if you want to win elections, and of course, we are talking about a group of people or a particular population in which people can really, manipulate emotionally those kinds of religious sentiments to their advantage or disadvantage. And so that I can appreciate, that is the more reason why it's going, on that particular angle. But that in no certain terms will affect him. But of course, he will also have to wait to win the presidential candidatureship.
Exactly. So Dr. Smasapon will put it that this is politics. They're not a Catholic Bishops' Conference. And so anything that you do to get the votes, and per the statistics you're giving, Dr. Bawumia understands the dynamics of religion. If you want to be able to come to their good books. And so what he's doing is to win him votes. That's what he's looking for.
Well, do not underestimate the intelligence of those that he's appealing to. You may have your way with some group of people, of course. Agrada says that Sikagari is now converted from being a comfort to a Christianist. She's still able to, get some people come to her fraternity. So there are some number of people that he can equally deceive with such kind gestures. But of course, the majority who are in the middle class, of course, they are the educated people, and they know very well that such gestures do not in any way show sincerity, because under normal circumstances you wouldn't do that. When the elections are over, will he be going to churches and donating money? No, that in itself, you are not a Christian. So it is your worth, your competency that you are sending out there for people to buy into that. But because his credibility is gone, that is the more reason why he is going on that particular tangent. Alan, if you ask me, has conducted himself very well in the fraternity of Mr. Akufo-Addo's government. Yes, of course, it is corporate damage, corporate benefit, corporate damage. And so definitely he cannot exonerate or insulate himself from that of the problems that Mr. Akufo-Addo's government has created in this country. And so that's the more reason why in his speech he acknowledged A, B, C, and D, but yet, went on a different tangent altogether to show that one way or the other, yes, he is part of it, but he's equally independent of the whole, machinery. So I think that if the MPP will want to take a claim to the presidency in 2024, I think Alan will do far better than Dr. Bawumia. But as to him winning the 2024 elections, I think that is a different discourse altogether, of which I doubt.
Doc, I'll come back to you. I'm sure you are still monitoring. I'll come back to you. You have made a very categorical statement that you think Alan will do better than Dr. Bawumia if the NPP is to consider any candidate to lead them into the 2024 elections. There are a number of text messages that are trooping in, lots of them. Well, let me jump this one, but let me read this before I come to Annette, Karen, and Eunice. And Master Planner Junior, aka BMW, says all the men in MPP are coming out to contest for the flag bearership, but the man next to lead is Dr. Bawumia, breaking the 8 with BMW, his best bet ever. Annette.
Okay, so we have this from Samuel Ofosuba. He says, everyone knows by the principle of the Conservative Party that Alan is due, but for the benefit of the party's image preservation within the Northern Caucus, Alan must sacrifice his contest for the leadership and accept the running mate position. Gariba Abdullahi Akonsi thinks that BMW stands the greatest chance for winning power for the MPP party, and the reasons are that Dr. Bawumia is hardworking, intelligent, and the most humble among his colleagues. Nana Anani says, these ladies are such beauties. Thank you, Nana. I'm more convinced that Alan will win the presidential primaries and subsequently win to become the president of the Republic of Ghana. This is coming from Inshuraba. Akoto Emmanuel Ado says, today the ladies are very beautiful indeed. Thank you, Akoto. Every president has priorities when it comes to the policies which he would do at the expense of others. The current president has his education, which is the free SHS, and Alan Tramantin believes that industrialization is the way to go, and that is going to be his focus when he's made president. Therefore, I believe that Alan Tramantin is the savior of Ghana. This is coming from Miftahu, all the way from Tamale. Forget the power. Alan Tramantin is built, and he has built a very good integrity and has proven his industrial ideas which Ghana need. Therefore, Alan Tramantin all the way. Coming from Techi. Matt Imprem thinks that DMB is our surest hope of breaking the 8. He's been able to capture the whole northern Ghana for MPP. He is the reason we have a majority in parliament. Kwame Young says, standing behind the microphone to give speeches and lectures is something anybody can rehearse and do, but to manifest your talk is another thing. Alan's works that are visible and available are more than his speeches, while Bawumia is the opposite. Therefore, we would need a credible character for the 2024 election, and that is Alan Tramantin, coming from Kwame Young. Kojo Awatri Mensah thinks, I think Alan is the best man to lead the MPP to victory. He's been with the party for long. Bawumia only came in for some interest. Remember, he is not a true Dankwa Buzia and Dambo family. Therefore, Alan all the way. Padmore Techi Apia says Dr. Smart Sapong is doing the Lord's work. Refit Hussein Gunu, it's a must win for Dr. Bawumia. He has paid his dues to the party and the government as the vice president. Ghana cannot afford not to make him the president. He is charismatic, competent, and holds a lot of integrity. Therefore, soldiers for DMB. And lastly, from Kwejo Boache, we need a leader that if you misbehave, he can sack you. And if you chop the nation's money, he can punish you. And that is no other than Honorable Kennedy Ohene Ejapong. Over to you, Kari.
Okay, this is from Stephen Ghana. He says, even though I give all my support to DMB, whoever our dear delegates choose, I will support the candidate because the Great Elephant Party is bigger than any individual. Lily Will says, Alan lost my trust the day that he resigned. I will never forget that morning after hearing on the FM. Techi Ebenezer says, Chief Alan is the only candidate that can attract floating voters with his charisma and rich industrial policies. This is the kind of journalism we need as a country. Good work. This is from Wadada Adams. And then we have one from Joshua. He says, Ghana doesn't need reverend fathers or imams to rule this country again. We need people like Kennedy Ejapong to put things in order. The impunity of Ghanaians and corrupt politics is increasingly increasing. Ken 2024. Obed Inshira says, if I had political ambitions, I would have contacted Apostle Paul to be my political analysis. And then lastly, from Cole Mensa, he says, DMW Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is our next hope for 2024 general election. Let's support him for a better Ghana. By Cole Mensa Pillar. Over to you.
DMB is our surest bet for election 2024. His fidelity to the cause of our NPP is unquestioned. This one is coming from Adama Amudu Banko. And then from Alhaji Bob City, he says, the way things are going, if Alan is not wild, Ken will beat him to the second position. DMB all the way to victory. Greetings to my MP, called Vincent Asifwa. Honorable, coming from Kojo Mensa, he says, I think Alan is the best man to lead the NPP to victory. He has been with the party for long. Bawumia only came in for someone's interest. Remember, he is not a true Dankabuzia and Dumbo family. Alan all the way. And from Benjamin Bafuampon, he says, Ghana has grown to pass the era of attacking opponents and throwing shades. We need an action-oriented person, and Alan has over the years demonstrated that he is in for the industrialization drive. This is what the country is missing, and we have Alan as an antidote to our short supply of industries and jobs. Stephen Otwahine says, Bawumia is the best candidate to lead a party to break the 8, because breaking the 8 is not just a slogan, but it needs committed leadership. Also coming from Kwabena Nchibwe, he says, if the NPP cannot fix the economic challenge, then how can the NDC? The NDC never fixes anything, but rather compound issues. JJ handed over an economy in 2001, whereas than he took it in 1981. Kufuor fixed that economy. John Mahama handed over that economy in 2017, whereas than it was found in 2009 and 2013. Nana Addo fixed that economy. Samuel Ofosuba says, the NPP fraternity is not a nepotism. It's not a political party that discriminates against the minority tribe within them. We are not tribal bigotry either. With this as our sole option and credibility, we are honoring the Dombo section, which is the northern territory of the Elephant fraternity, by nominating and confirming the current Vice President, Dr. Alhaji Bawumia, as the flag bearer for the party coming 2024 presidential elections. His Excellency Bawumia has the competence and the credibility to hold the banner for the challenge ahead into victory. Long live Ghana, long live Elephant fraternity. And this is the last message I've got. Over to you, sir.
Right, thank you very much. So that was Annette, Karen, and Eunice. Prince Kofi J. Nyako says, Jonathan Asante's analysis is weak. I beg to differ. To say Dr. Bawumia is deceiving Christians is not true. Dr. Bawumia is a man. God bless you all. And Ochiman DC says, Alan Chematin had no deep-rooted commitment and loyalty to the NPP. BJ Darocha, NPP Foundation member on 25th April 2008, when Alan tendered his resignation letter. We, the NPP, are going to vote for the hard-working Vice President, DMB, BMW all the way, or Chiman Chami, DC. Patiently, I've read the message of Chiman. And Isa from Tema says, Akoto Free is a waste of time. If you could not manage a single ministry, how can we entrust a whole country into his hands? Tofiakwa. Isa from Tema sent in that one. McLean Desmond says, Ghana's Vice President, His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, is by far the best Vice President this country has ever had. He has gained so much influence in the political sphere after being chosen 4 times by the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, as VP. He has indeed demonstrated a higher level of loyalty over the years. Every appearance of his in this political domain has been a talked-about moment because of his dexterity and intellectual prowess in politics. In the run-up to the 2020 general elections, it was evident how he constantly campaigned across the country, particularly in the northern regions, which obviously proved to have been very effective drawing, I'm sure you wonder, right, the electoral proceeds in those regions. Such a man is worth every bit of commendation for the enormous contributions and gains he has made for the new patriotic party, NPP. BMW, best to lead, next to lead. Good evening. Akwesi, Dr. Bawumia didn't start going to church today, so Dr. Jonathan Asante should stop this kind of analogy he's putting out. We, the grassroots, believe in BMW, and he's our best, surest bet. Say Ewuku in Esuboy sent in that one. I'm back in the studio here, and I'm still with Dr. Smart Sapon, and I'm still back at the question. I'll now fuse it with whether he thinks we should have an early Congress. People have said that this is going to be very, very, very tough. And to get the two, especially, or the top 3 or 4, as I puts it, to be able to come together and campaign to actually break the heat will be another hurdle to overcome. Let me come to you now.
Yeah.
With the Congress timing, and we've heard Lawyer Justin Kodia from Pong said that they will come out by the end of this month to put out the timetable for both parliamentary elections and then the flag bearer elections.
Yes, so the earlier the better in all these discussions. The earlier the better, especially so when we have heard indications from the next major political party, the NDC, to the effect that they are going to do it very early. I don't think the NPP would want to delay any further. That is why I was thinking that if there could be a way of talking to some of the other guys who are trying to be part of the race to, relax and prepare to support whoever wins, I was thinking that would have been good so that they avoid the special delegates conference or whatever. That would trim down the number to 5 or less. I think if they avoid that, then the next date they will have to fix will be to fix the main day for... I once listened to the Leader of Parliament, Seche Mensah-Bonsu, who was giving some analysis to the effect that the contest may happen somewhere in September. I was thinking September would have been too late.
I've heard some members of parliament who wanted latest by August.
Absolutely. It should come even earlier than August. I don't know what the political party will be waiting for. The men are ready. Those who would vote are also ready. So just give them some time to campaign and sell their messages. Then somewhere before middle of this year, if this activity can be done. But we will leave that one to the men at the head office and the neck of the political party, who perhaps would have a lot of considerations beyond what we are discussing to fixing that date. But in all, I would wish that they do it early. Because
who do you perceive the President, His Excellency Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, to be supporting in all of these, at least the top 4?
There are things that may come if there are repercussions that may come if the President openly or by his actions appear to be supporting.
Which would obviously happen.
I don't know how it's going to happen. People may rumor.
People will rumor. Some of the candidates will tag themselves as the Jubilee House supported candidates.
Absolutely.
And all of those things will come up. But for you, who do you perceive that the president will support?
You see, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo as a person, and with the kind of kindness that the party NPP has done for him, helping him to assume the highest position, I don't think that it will be a good thing on his part to, at the point of leaving, create division. Because once the president takes a stand, the rest, you are a father. If you take a stand, what it means is that you are trying to field some...
I'm saying he will not openly support, but obviously would have a sense of who... For instance, if we get to see some key people in the political party, NPP, supporting a particular candidate, the mindset will be that then the president is supporting this particular candidate.
And the president's response to those comments will tell us where he stands. You remember President Rawlings, President Mahama, former President Mahama openly announced that, yes, if delegates come across anybody using his name to campaign, they should outrightly disbelieve that. I think the president would make that statement if people begin to attach themselves to him. It will not help because factionism or any form of division that will come in. And President Kufuor mentions that as one of the causes of their loss in the 2008 elections. When a man falls, our elders says lessons are learned. What lessons have they learned by, you remember around that time, people attached Alan Kyerematen to President Kufuor, and I mean, yeah, so when division set in, and even a single vote is lost, then the breaking the eight would be something more of a slogan than a reality. So they should do everything possible, and it starts with the president by not attaching. The president should not attach. He should openly give his blessings to all the aspirants that may finally decide to contest, and he must continuously remain neutral and appear neutral until the winner is declared. Then he would give his blessings and hand over the mantle of leadership to the person in peace. Then we can be assured that the party will go into the 2024 elections united. Any form of division will not be good for any political party.
Somebody says, Kwesi, if Doctor is not answering your question of who will be the best candidate, ask him from his research who will win. And I started the whole conversation with this question, that from where you stand, who is likely to emerge the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party?
Likelihood, then it means we have more than one.
This is not about who is the strongest contender or who you think would make the best candidate, but who is likely to emerge the leader of the party for the 2024 elections.
Yes, so under the acceptance of likelihood, I would go for, and you know why? As a scientist,
yes,
as a research scientist,
yes,
as a social scientist, I do not speak out of guess. And when I speak out of scientific research, I stand by it.
I know.
So there are occasions where people will say, but doctor, when you say NPP is going to win by 51.4, are you not putting your credibility on the line? I said, no, this is a product of a scientific study, so I will stand by it. If I go into the realms of guessing and speculation, I think I'll be putting my interest in science and data aside. And so under the acceptance of likelihood, I would say some of the candidates have shown complete readiness for the battle.
Which of them?
Chief Alan Kyerematen and Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, you can see are in the race. But no one should underestimate the possible effect of the Ken movement or the possible effect of the Akoto Afriyie movement.
We're almost running beyond time, but somebody put up a question I was looking for. When is the research coming up? When is the result?
I don't know whether this can be said on live TV, but unfortunately, last 2 days I lost my entire self. Like it's not his laptop and the data and the backups and everything gone.
Wow.
So I had some. I wanted to even address like a baseline study to set the tone for the competition and all those things, but I hope to get laptop, replace it, and see if I can start retrieving some of the things that I lost. So bad. If not, next Tuesday, I was supposed to have done some.
Giving some.
Yes, but unfortunately, I have lost the laptop and all its content. But I hope to start all over again. So maybe somewhere before the heat is on, before they draw near to the Congress itself, we will definitely, we do it as a responsibility to the public. Any matter of public interest, we try to introduce the fact that science and data has a role to play in everything that we do. And that is the motivation for which we do the things we do.
Right. I fully endorse Alan Kyerematen's decision to contest for the flag bearership position of the NPP. He's our best bet for 2024. Alan for Ghana, jobs for the people, cash for the people. Manche Bruce, Takrade sent in that one. Good evening, Akwesi. I think delegates will listen and access all aspirants' campaign messages and reward the most hardworking candidate. Good evening to our JFK from Maxwell, Chalimbalim Talensi constituency organizer. DMB is the best candidate to lead the NPP into victory. He's a grassroots man, and the party delegates won't make a mistake to elect Alan, who can't do vigorous campaign for the party BMW. Inyas Idrisu, Baumia Northeast, sent in that one. Good evening, sir. Dr. Baumia is the surest candidate for the NPP to break in the 8, and I, J. Mike, will be on the ground to canvass for DMB. J. Mike from Tema in Lashibi. Let me do this very last one. Dr. Mahmoud Baumia stood with the party through thick and thin. Others quitted, but Dr. Baumia was always there for the party. He's not the only best and next to lead, but he deserves to lead. Nantonma Mahmoudu Badim Sugru, Northeast Regional Coordinator for Baumia, must win. I beg all of you, I'm not reading any message again. And wow, lots of them coming in, and I can imagine how many my ladies have now. But unfortunately, my time is actually up, and I've mentioned to you that the President, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has accepted the resignation letter of Dr. Owusu Afriyie-Akoto. If producers will permit me, I'll just read this one and then I round up. The President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, has accepted the resignation letter from the office of Honorable Dr. Owusu Afriyie-Akoto as Minister of Food and Agriculture. This was after the minister personally presented his letter of resignation to the President at Jubilee House on Tuesday, 10th January 2023. President Akufo-Addo conveyed his sincere gratitude to Honorable Dr. Owusu Afriyie-Akoto for his services to government and to the nation, and wished him the best of luck in his future endeavors. The President has subsequently tasked the Minister for Fisheries and Aquaculture, Honorable Mavis Hawa Kumsen, Member of Parliament for Owutu Senya East, to act as caretaker minister at the Ministry of Food and Agriculture until a substantive replacement is made. Signed, Eugene Ahin, Director of Communications, Office of the President. So the news is that Honorable Mavis Hawa Kumsen, Member of Parliament for Owutu Senya East, is a caretaker minister for the Ministry of Food and Agriculture. And of course, you are aware that the Minister of Finance, Honorable Ken Ofori-Atta, is a caretaker minister for the Ministry of Trade and Industry. And Doc, let me give you the last 10 seconds to round up. Forgive me for the time. Yes.
Yeah, we are out of time.
Metro TV, insightful and inspiring moments.
Has Christianity